The mistress crashed our party and claimed my husband, but I won him back without saying a word. Vicky was already swaying on her stilettos by the time the kids finished playing in the backyard. Logan had brought her to our daughter's birthday party under the guise of being a new associate from his logistics firm who needed to mingle. I was so busy hosting that I didn't pay much attention at first, but then I overheard her slurring her words near the kitchen island. She was loudly complaining to my neighbors about how terribly designed our house was, waving her empty glass around and criticizing the floor plan. I glanced over and noticed Logan looking incredibly nervous, his jaw clenched as he hovered near her. She had clearly drank herself into a state where she could barely stand upright. Thinking I was helping my stressed husband deal with an embarrassing colleague, I walked over, gently wrapped my arm around his waist, and leaned in to whisper that he should probably call her a taxi before things got worse. The moment Vicky saw me casually hug my husband, something inside her just snapped. She lunged forward and grabbed his arm, violently trying to rip him out of my embrace. She pointed a manicured finger right in my face and started screaming at the top of her lungs. "Logan is mine. Get your hands off him." The entire party flatlined. The music seemed to fade into the background as every single guest, our friends, our family, the neighbors, froze in dead silence. I felt the blood drain entirely from my face. The shock and the sheer, suffocating shame of the moment hit me so hard I couldn't even form a single word. I turned around and sprinted up the stairs to our master bedroom, locking the door behind me. I couldn't breathe. Below me, the chaos erupted. Through the floorboards, I heard shouting, gasps, and the sickening sound of Vicky violently throwing up directly onto the festive dining table covered in party food. It was the worst day of my entire life. I dragged myself to the bedroom window, crying hysterically, and looked down at the driveway. Logan was carrying her out of the house in his arms. Her tight mini dress had ridden all the way up her waist, and all of my respectable guests were left staring at her exposed backside in a tiny thong as he hauled her away. A moment later, there was a soft knock on my bedroom door. It was my best friend. "Amanda, please let me in," she pleaded softly. "Are you okay? Let's just talk." But I was completely destroyed. I couldn't speak to anyone. I just watched from the glass as Logan loaded her into his car, got in the driver's seat, and drove away with her. He didn't even come upstairs to explain himself or check if I was breathing. 2 full days passed. He didn't answer a single phone call. I realized then that this was the absolute collapse of my marriage. I moved around the house like a zombie, scrubbing floors and wiping counters just to keep my hands busy, though I felt entirely dead inside. I was constantly nauseous, my stomach churning every time my mind replayed that humiliating scene. Then, my phone buzzed. It wasn't Logan, it was an unknown number. I opened the message and my heart dropped. It was a barrage of intimate, graphic photos of Logan and Vicky together. The text that followed was dripping with venom. Vicky wrote that she had been a part of our family for 3 years. "You're such a fool, Amanda," she taunted. "You didn't even notice how I became his number one." She was trying to humiliate me, to break my spirit so completely that I would just give up and file for divorce. But as I stared at the screen, the sadness evaporated and was replaced by a cold, hard clarity. I realized there was no point in confronting him or demanding explanations. I knew everything I needed to know, and now I had to act. She wanted to take him away from me, and I was absolutely not going to hand him over. We have a beautiful daughter, we built a lucrative family business together, and deep down, beneath all the mess he created, I knew he still loved me. I decided to change the narrative. I went into my camera roll, selected several incredibly sexy photos of myself, and posted them on my social media, making sure my profile was wide open to the public. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up with comments from men. "Wow," one wrote. "Gorgeous, just tell me where you are," said another. My inbox filled with messages of guys telling me they were sliding into my DMs. I needed to remind myself, and the world, that I was a prize. I decided to show that if I wanted to, I could have any man I desired. That very evening, the front door finally unlocked. Logan walked in, carrying heavy grocery bags. I was upstairs when I heard him. I decided this was my moment to make an effective entrance. I went into my closet and put on a stunning set of expensive lingerie my friend had given me for my birthday, a set I had been saving to use for the right occasion. I slipped a sheer silk robe over it. I walked down the stairs silently. Logan had his back to me, unpacking the groceries and putting things into the fridge. I glided over to the coffee machine and calmly began making an espresso. He turned around and stopped dead in his tracks. The bags in his hands rustled as he took me in. A slow, stunned smile spread across his face. "Wow," he whispered, walking toward me. "Baby, you look gorgeous." I could see the absolute awe in his eyes. He was thrilled. He smiled and immediately started unboxing me right there in the kitchen. Our daughter was safely at her grandparents' house, and that night was the beginning of our new, hot nights together. Later, his phone vibrated endlessly. Vicky was blowing up his phone, but he didn't even glance at the screen. I knew right then that she was just a temporary amusement. I am the woman he wanted to have children with, the woman he proposed to. I am his only one. I could tell Logan was bewildered. He had walked into that house fully expecting a massive scandal. I could see it in his posture when he arrived. He was bracing himself for the screaming, the crying, the accusations of cheating. But I chose to be a wise woman. I chose to simply enjoy my life and take pleasure in what was mine. About a week later, I decided to tie up the final loose end. I took a beautiful, intimate selfie of Logan and me together, and I texted it directly to Vicky's number, just to shut her mouth for good. A minute later, a single word popped up on my screen. Bitch. I actually felt a surge of absolute triumph. I knew she was sitting there, completely disarmed and defeated. I won't lie, I still feel a deep sense of shame when I'm around my relatives. It's incredibly awkward to look them in the eyes. I always catch myself wondering if they think he traded me in, if they believe he chose her over me, or if they secretly think there is something wrong with me. But at the end of the day, he is mine. It has been a year since that disastrous party, and the passion between us is exactly the same as those first nights. Vicky never showed her face again. I decided to trust the universe, and the universe delivered.